What's up, guys? Welcome back to Games on Deck. And Monster Hunter Stories 3 has pushed out a demo the past few days, this past week, and it's shaping up to look like it's going to be a pretty good game. Now, I think there's some performance stuff that might need to be optimized and kind of smoothed out before the full release, but this is just a demo, and I wanted to take a look at it running here on the Steam Deck, specifically my Steam Deck OLED here. And we'll take a look at a few different settings, but I'm ultimately going to settle on some fairly low custom FSR settings for now in the demo, but we're going to take a lot closer look when the game actually releases. Now, we have some presets in here for high, low, medium, and custom. We've got AMD FSR available. We've got TAA and FXAA in here that we can mess with as well, and then some individual settings that we can play around with in custom when we get into that also. And the only thing about this game and Capcom recently is there's no 1610 support no matter what. No 800p, none of that, and it does get a bit annoying. It's less noticeable on the OLED because of the bezels and stuff and the blacked out display, but yeah, just go with that. 720p, no VSync on here, no real frame cap, borderless windowed. Now, I wouldn't have really expected the Steam Deck to run this game at high settings anyway, even at the 720p, and no upscaling here right now. It's sitting still at 30 FPS. I was actually kind of surprised we even got that good, but the frame rate and the drops and everything, and when you get out into the real world, you're going to be in the teens and stuff, it does get to be pretty messy, and I kind of expected that. And even at medium, there's not really a big difference if we get into that. We'll move over here and kind of stand still for a second and go through a couple of different settings. So sticking with high here, but turning FSR on to balance just to check that out. Of course, we're going to get a much softer image here, but we do gain a few FPS, and it does help. But you're still going to have a lot of frame rate drops and issues when you really get into it. And I don't think, at least for the demo, the way things are playing, high would necessarily be the way to go. You might cap that to 30, but again, you're still going to fall into the 20s easily when you get out into some other areas. Medium didn't have a lot of difference when it came to that, and messed with comparing it to high, so I don't think there's enough gains there yet either. Now, hopefully when the main game does come out, we can push something closer to medium settings here at 30 to 40 FPS pretty easily, but it's been a little bit rough here at the beginning. Going to the low preset, we can get a bit more out of the game, a little bit easier, get up into the 40s, give us a little bit more headroom when we get into some other areas out in the open world and into battle and things like that. And if we go ahead and move around here, of course, again, the image is a bit softer with FSR, but it's a little bit better to kind of move around the world and we don't have as much issue there. But as I got into it, ultimately what I decided to do is just kind of go custom here. Ultimately, going to wind up being FSR off for now, but we're going to land on quality, and we're just going to leave TAA on until I turn that back on. And then we come down here, we can go lower with some stuff that it doesn't do with the lowest preset, like bringing down that cloud image quality to low. The texture quality, I'm going to leave it low instead of lowest for now. Hopefully we'll be able to go to medium later on. Grass and tree quality low. We've got the grass tree sway I turned off for now to help a little bit as well, especially on the CPU side. Stay near here with our draw distance, and then low on the other settings. I'm going to turn off stuff like bloom and vignette and depth of field, and really just kind of get as much out of it as I can at these lower settings on the demo, just to see how it's working out here. And then of course I do think we're going to be able to run things a good bit higher and use some frame caps and have the game looking pretty darn good on the Steam Deck when the game actually comes out. So here's those settings. It's a lot crisper with no FSR on, and we're getting about the same FPS that we were getting with FSR on when we were on just the low setting preset before. So that might be a good option to go with if you don't want any upscaling for now. I think that looks better than bringing the settings up and using more FSR. But if you want to pull a little bit more out of it for the rest of the video, I'm pretty much going to stick with throwing quality FSR on there and let it run that way as I get into some different areas of the game and just see how performance is going. But I think this gives you a general idea of how it's running here. Certainly room for optimization. We need some better frame times, and I think ultimately when the full game comes out and they optimize it a little bit, it's going to run fantastic and be another great title here on the Steam Deck, and I'm sure other handhelds and things like that as well. But anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with some gameplays. You can see more about how it's running here on the deck. Thanks a lot for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Amazing!
Impressive! Nice one! Now's your chance! We've got this!
Got him!
We did it!
Keep it up! Nice one!
Might be in trouble. Get him!
Are you okay?